Hello, this is Victor from RestoreYourMercedes.com, and here I just want to make a video of the finished rewired wire and harness for 95 Mercedes C36 AMG. This harness is no longer available, and this harness is for repair shop in New Jersey. Okay, so basically this particular harness came together with transmission harness, which is at the end. We're gonna go over this, over that in a second. But this is how long it is. Basically, the complete harness is quite long. This is just my workshop futon over here. So as you can see, it takes out the whole futon. This is a full-size futon, and half of it at least it takes out. And obviously, if it's stretched, it's not gonna fit. So it's a long harness, and it takes a long time to do. Lots of materials, different cable gauges, lots of tape, and a lot of manual labor. So basically, the problem with this harness is the obviously the wiring. They all deteriorate. As you can see, I'll show you real quick. This is the garbage bin here, and it's a bunch of old tape and some deteriorated wires that came from this harness. And as you can see, some of them completely lost its insulation, just bare cables. Some of them I had to pull and they flake right off. Well, I can take this wire and you can see how it just falls off the cable, the insulation. So just breaks right off. So this bunch of wires in there, like all these wires cut off and old tape. Okay, so that's what came from it. Now the harness itself, it comes in segments. It's very important to when it's rewired to make breakout points at the right locations, because if you don't, then the connector is not going to reach the sensor if it comes out the wrong location. So when I do this, I mark locations for all connectors, because once it's unwrapped, then you will lose all these reference points, and that's very important. So the plug itself, it opens up, the screws here, it comes out, but it is very, very strongly glued over here with some sort of glue, along with some sort of gooey stuff. I don't even know what that is. It's like grandfather of silicone or something, because it's really difficult to remove. So when I finish it, I wrap it and I silicone it at the entry point here. So again, there's a couple of segments here. This segment right here, this one is for knock sensors. This is the ground actually for the computer, seem to be. So you got crankshaft sensor. This is the cable is thinner I use. This is a military grade Teflon cable, so it's much better than original stuff. This is a coaxial wire actually. It's shielded, so the gauge internally is perfectly fine in terms of the original specifications. So this wire is perfect. So you got two knock sensors here. You got crankshaft sensors here. These have to be cut open to get to the actual terminals, so I can solder this cable directly to terminals. Some sensors I do differently, like for example, this is the intake air temperature sensor. I just solder it, as you can see, at very end. As you can see, push heat shrink wrap, and so the wires are soldered at the base. It holds really nice, and never been a problem. Same way I do injectors. Okay, so that's this segment that comes out right from the break point at the beginning of the harness. Then also this wire comes out, as you can see it go around. This is your mass airflow sensor, which also had to be cut open to solder directly to terminals. So I closed it back down, wrapped around, and so I try to retain as much as original sheeting as possible, so it looks as factory as it could be. So that's the mass airflow sensor. This terminal is one of the pins from mass airflow sensors connector. It just connects to another computer. I mean, breakpoint for the computer. Now the second segment here, as you can see, is the injectors, and continues down there, so just keeps going. It terminates to this connector. This is the second breakpoint. So you have injectors and coils. So here 3 cables for ignition coils. So these I soldered directly inside. These open up, as you can see. They can be opened. So I opened them up. I soldered directly inside, and then rub the cables and, you know, whatever they have to go on the plug. Then we go further down to injectors. So you have these injectors. So injectors I do the same way as intake air temperature sensor. As you can see, I leave a little bit of original wire, and I solder directly to that original wire and run wires further down. Now I do put some marks on the injectors. As you can see, this is number 6, for example. It's a faint mark, but it's enough for installation because the wire length is going to make to basically one injector, except for 5 and 6. They're really close to each other, so therefore 5, 6, and 4. See, these 3, they're like close, so you can make a mistake by plugging them crisscross. So therefore I just put the mark. So this one is number 5 here, so you know which one it is. Okay, number 5, and this has to be number 4. You can see number 4 here marked. Going down the line, we have this wire. This is the intake resonance plate connector. It opens the intake runners, you know, closes 3 and opens all 6 for the turbulence. Creates more power supposedly. So here are 3 more injectors here, and keep going down the line. This is the Camshaft Advancer. You see, this piece is original. I kept it original just to make it look as original as possible when you open the hood. It's very brittle, it's hard, so it was nice to warm it up, maybe with hair dryer, and plug it in and leave it be, but like, again, it just looks a little nicer, you know, just like an original piece. So that, then we go further. We have a couple of other original sleeves, but new wires. And see, these are soldered together. These are grounds. So one of the wires here is for the, actually both are for valves, vacuum valves that activate EGR and the switchover valve. So that's just keeps going. And then the last wire here, this for C36 has an electric air pump. So we have electric air pump connector here at the very end of that segment. Then we're going further. Second, like, see, it's like it splits out into Y, and then it goes further. So we have the this one is the temperature sensor, coolant temperature sensor. It sends signal to computer, the coolant temperature, and this is the gauge sensor. No, I'm sorry, this is, I think this is for the fans. I have to double check the diagrams, but I think this is the fan, electric fan sensor. And this one is multi-plug. 2 of them are, this is also, both are for coolant. This one is for the 2 terminals are for the computer, and the other 2 are for the instrument cluster gauge, so you know which temperature, you know the temperature in the engine, the coolant temperature. So that's how they go. Now it keeps going further down. So we have, this is for the air conditioner. Okay, this is the oil level sensor. It shows the level of the oil. The yellow light comes on if the oil is low. And this is another ground. No, actually, no, that's not the ground. This is the alternator wire. Yeah, I believe this is the signal for alternator to start charging. That's what this one is. Again, I mean, this is just by memory. I mean, more or less, this is the correct wiring setup. but to double check I would obviously need to go and double check the diagrams. Okay, the wiring keep going. As you can see, it continues to this connector. Now this wire right here, very nice and, well, it's thick and it's very stiff because it has the main power to air pump, and it also is a positive for all injectors. So all the wires from injectors actually run around and terminate to this connector. I don't know why they did it like that. They could have just run a thick wire and just have a breakpoint somewhere in the middle of the loom, but I guess they didn't think about saving money back then, so they just used so much extra wires to get all the powers to connect to this very terminal. Alright, so now some of the connections from some sensors, like air conditioner for example, this one, it actually goes here and it returns back into this harness here, connects to these plugs. Two wires from this sensors also terminate to this plug right here for the instrument cluster gauge. So this is a multi-connector. This actually can be taken apart. This part is, I believe it's E. Oh, here it is. This is A. As you can see, letter A. So this plug comes out as A. This is B, and C, D, E. So there's like different connectors actually. So this particular connector is the part of the transmission harness. And transmission harness actually came with this harness because it was also in really bad shape. It's kind of a piece of work to do this transmission because I gotta cut the big plug to get to wires, neutral safety switch connector. So this is the second part, basically goes from the plug, goes here, and then it continues here. So this seemed to be short, but it did take me about half a day to do. Now you have a couple of things. There's a kick down, then the starter, and overload switch, and the neutral safety switch. Now this switch right here has only 4 terminals. 2 of them are for the park neutral switch, and second part is to engage starter. So the signal goes through this plug and into the starter. It's kind of funny design, but that's just the way it was made. So this one had to be cut open and wires soldered to it. Very thick gauge wires because, you know, starter requires a lot of power. And basically this is it. I mean, this harness is done. All the wire lengths, as you can see, come out a good lengths, pretty much as original as they could be. You know, I double check all the cables. I cut the wire exactly to size, give or take like maybe, I don't know, 1/4 inch or something, maybe 1 inch at most. But I usually give just a little bit of reserve. So it's definitely going to fit 100%, nice and tight, and it's going to be just as original. So this harness is done. It's good to go. For the comparison, this is basically the way I rebuild it. And here on my bench I have another harness that I'm actually not going to do because somebody tried to fix it. They did a terrible job, and to fix this harness is just not making financial sense because it just, once I opened it up a little bit, it's just completely shot. So what happens here is, first of all, somebody cut the wires and they extended them. And as you can see, the way they made extensions, they just twist them together. So the wires are not original length anymore. On top of that, it's taped. So tape was very difficult to remove. And the wire length, as you can see, this one, for example, was just twisted just to make it reach. And then it was wrapped with tape. So that's not good. Because I don't know original lengths now anymore. Like this one, it's taped together. And this one is taped together. I can replace wires, but I don't know how long they have to be. So I can do the same way they did, but that's just gonna look terrible. So it's not gonna be by any means looking like factory, or it's just way more labor for me to really undo it first. So this harness is like pretty much patched up, because as you can see, these wires look like some of them are replaced. They're still in decent shape, and some like color coded and everything. I do everything in one color, because once it's done, you never have to go back to it. This particular one, as you can see, the harness itself is flaking off, it's breaking. This is past the patch portion of it. As you can see, these are what the cracks are. It doesn't look to be a big problem, but in reality, as you can see, it can just flake right off. Now in reality, water gets in there and then the moisture actually has some resistance, so you will get some false readings. They never did this one, for example, the temperature sensor. Once I unwrapped it, it just fell right off. As you can see, that it's just completely shot. Okay, so that's not good. And also I found out that they never did mass airflow sensor, so here's a big mess. I don't even know what happened here. It looks like it melted or something. I think they had it disconnected. It fell down the exhaust and it just melted it. So the wires in there are completely shot. Going down the harness, this is another segment. As you can see, patch repair did some improvement, but here it's still original. So all of these wires, they just fall apart completely. So it's a really bad candidate to start off with if it's extremely necessary. Well, like this one, for example, too. Here, somebody wrapped these wires together, but they're completely bare. So water gets in there and the resistance changes. The whole car doesn't understand what it needs. Some connectors are completely broken, like this one. There's another broken connector, very terribly broken, this one. So it's not a good candidate, so better probably off to get a new harness. So here's what I do, and just kind of a combination of two harnesses, two videos that I made. One video out of two harnesses just to put it on the site and show the customer that it is good to go. Okay, so somebody needs harness done, give me a call or visit my website at restoreyourmercedes.com. Thanks for watching.